Welcome to our Full Send series on a man after God's own heart. Some of you may know that person as David. Now, David is in 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel. This main focus of this series will be in 2 Samuel, but this first week we're going to review David before he became king. He was known as a man after God's own heart long before he became the king of Israel. In fact, back in chapter 13 of 1 Samuel, God saw that Saul was disobedient and said, there is going to be a new king, and this one is going to be a man that is after my own heart. And a few chapters later, we see Samuel go to the house of Jesse, and he looks over all the brothers, and he thinks the oldest is going to be the one because he's similar to Saul. He's tall, he's dark, he's handsome, he's strong. And God says, no, I don't look at the outward appearance like you do. I look at the heart. It's all about David's heart. And so David, the youngest of the sons of Jesse, gets anointed to be king. And now then there's this awkward stage we see at the end of 1 Samuel where Saul is still the king, but David is the anointed king coming up behind. Now Saul thinks humanly, and he's like, well, if somebody's going to try to take my place, then I guess I need to take them out. And so we are going to look at what does a man after God's heart do when someone's trying to kill you. If you look at 1 Samuel, you'll see that there are multiple times that Saul tries to kill David. He throws a spear at him from across the room. He sends people to his house. He seeks him out in caves. And I want to read to you from chapter 24. When Saul returned from following the Philistines, he was told, behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi. When Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel and went to seek David and his men in front of the wild goats' rocks. And he came to the sheepfolds by the way, where there was a cave, and Saul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were sitting in the innermost parts of the cave, and the men of David said to him, here is the day of which the Lord said to you, behold, I will give your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it shall seem good to you. Then David arose and stealthily cut off a corner of Saul's robe, and afterward David's heart struck him, because he had cut off a corner of Saul's robe. He said to his men, the Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed, to put out my hand against him, seeing he is the Lord's anointed. So David persuaded his men with these words and did not permit them to attack Saul. And Saul rose up and left the cave and went on his way. Afterward, David also arose and went out of the cave and called after Saul, my Lord the king. And when Saul looked behind him, David bowed with his face to the ground and paid homage. And David said to Saul, why do you listen to the words of men who say, behold, David seeks your harm? Behold, this day your eyes have seen how the Lord gave you today into my hand in the cave. And some told me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not put out my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. See, my father, see the corner of your robe in my hand, for by the fact that I cut off the corner of your robe and did not kill you, you may know and see that there is no wrong or treason in my hands. I have not sinned against you, though you hunt my life to take it. May the Lord judge between me and you. May the Lord avenge me against you, but my hand shall not be against you. As the proverb of the ancients say, out of the wicked comes wickedness, but my hand shall not be against you. After whom has the king of Israel come out? After whom do you pursue? After a dead dog? After a flea? May the Lord therefore be judge and give sentence between me and you, and see to it and plead my cause and deliver me from your hand. As soon as David had finished speaking these words to Saul, Saul said, is this your voice, my son David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. He said to David, you are more righteous than I, for you repaid me good, whereas I have repaid you evil. And you have declared this day how you have dealt with me, and that you did not kill me when the Lord put me into your hands. Saul took 3,000 men to go and kill David. One person. Sure, David had a few people with him, but Saul took 3,000 people. And along the journey, he had to go to the bathroom. And so he went into the cave, and as he is using the restroom in the cave, it happens to be the same cave that David's in. And the voices of David's friends are telling him, "Go, kill Saul." And David sneaks up, and he takes the corner of his robe, and just by taking the corner of his robe, there's guilt. He's like, no, I need to respect this leader, the one anointed by God. You see, David was in a situation where it was kill or be killed. And we would think, well, if it's kill or be killed, we better kill. His friends encouraged that, but David said, no, I am going to be faithful to God. I am going to be right before God, and I am going to respect the one he has anointed. A few chapters later, Saul is still trying to kill David. And again, David has the opportunity to kill Saul, but he doesn't. And then we read this. Then Saul said, I have sinned. Return, my son David, for I will no more do you harm, because my life was precious in your eyes this day. Behold, I have acted foolishly and have made a great mistake. And David answered and said, Here is the spear, O king. Let one of the young men come over and take it. The Lord rewards every man for his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord gave you into my hand today, and I would not put out my hand against the Lord's anointed. Behold, as your life was precious this day in my sight, so may my life be precious in the sight of the Lord, and may he deliver me out of all tribulation. Then Saul said to David, Blessed be you, my son David. You will do many things and will succeed in them. So David went his way, and Saul returned to his place. Again, David says, I'm just trying to be faithful and right before God. I think for us, it's important to think about, is there any time we've ever wanted to get even, where we felt like we could be justified to attack someone else because they hurt us? Well, a person after God's own heart does not respond to the sin of others, even if it hurts them. The one who is after God's own heart lives faithful and right in God's eyes, not trying to get even, not trying to get revenge. In fact, Scripture says, let God take revenge. Let God avenge. You just be faithful. Do not repay evil for evil, but repay evil with good. And this is what David shows us here. He didn't take the life of Saul. He didn't try to overpower Saul. He respected Saul, even when Saul tried to take his life. He acted faithfully, and he acted in righteousness. Full Sin family, as we go throughout this month, as we look at what it looks like to be a person after God's heart, may we start living like David in faithfulness and righteousness, honoring God with all that we do.